Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the City of Deltona Special City Commission meeting for Monday, September 26, 2022 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bradford. Here. Commissioner King. Here. Commissioner McCool. Here. Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Vila Vasquez. Present. And Mayor Herzberg.
Here. May we all please stand for the pledge to the flag. Commissioner King, would you like to lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Commissioners, some housekeeping to begin with. We have 3 items on the Special Commission meeting agenda. We're going to add a 4th item, and we're going to begin with that in just a minute. After these 3 items are over, we will be taking a 15-minute break so that they can change out the iPads and get everything all set. So after the 3 items, we will be having a 15-minute break. First of all, the add-on item, Chief Snyder, would you like to come forth and explain what you've heard for the hurricane and for what the county is doing to declare a state of emergency? So we have a declaration of a state of emergency, and Bridget is going to bring the commission. We've got it printed up, and if you will let us know what's going on, Chief, that would be great. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Sorry, I've been running around a little bit here. An update on the hurricane. This is as of the 11 a.m. Update. There's a new one that just came out at 5, but obviously it's only 5 o'clock now, so this should be being updated pretty soon. But Hurricane Ian right now is moving at about 13 miles an hour in the northwest Caribbean Sea at a maximum sustained winds of about 80 miles an hour. It's forecasted to go through Cuba, and as it enters into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, it's forecasted to intensify very rapidly and into a major hurricane. It'll go west of the Florida Keys and then towards the lower Big Bend Island by Wednesday night into Thursday night, and it has an extremely large wind field right now. So when I say that it's going to the Big Bend, that's the center of the eye. You got to think that the actual storm extends out a lot further than that. Remember that small changes in the track and intensity can result in big differences in local potential impacts. So if we wobble a little bit west, then things are going to be better. If we wobble some east, then we may be a little bit more have a little bit more impact than we're saying right now. As of the briefing that I had this afternoon, they're talking about the winds. We should start feeling the winds sometime Wednesday afternoon to Wednesday night. And then sometime maximum sustained wind should be somewhere around the 40-mile-an-hour mark for maximum sustained winds. The forecast does have it slowing down once it gets towards land. Right now, like I said, it's moving at about 13 miles an hour. They're expecting it to slow down to maybe possibly as slow as 5 miles an hour, which if it does that, then it's obviously going to dump a lot more rain on us. So potential flooding is an issue. Also, we're in that dirty part of the storm, they like to call it, that right upper quadrant, where the winds tend to cause actual tornadoes. They generally are not huge tornadoes, but that is the area of the storm that does tend to create tornadoes more than any other part of the storm. As far as shelters and school closings and things like that, that's all under the auspice of the county. They will be making those decisions here in the near future. I did hear that Galaxy Middle may be, if it's opened, it will be opened as a special needs and pet shelter. The county is going to do their local state of emergency as of tomorrow. The federal government has already done a state of emergency, as well as the state has. The county will do theirs tomorrow. So we are recommending that we go ahead and declare a state emergency here for the city of Deltona here tonight, so that you don't have to come back and do it, either tomorrow night or Wednesday night. So, and with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chief Schneider, did you say Galaxy Middle School was going to be open for special needs?
If it's needed to be open, that would be the school that would open in Deltona. They haven't decided on exactly which schools are going to open yet. So, but if there is a need here in Deltona, that's the one that will open for special needs and pets.
Can you explain to me what special needs would include?
Special needs is like people that may need help getting around, your people that basically have like your parking permits with the handicap parking permits. It's those type of people. It's not people that are on respirators or that are really sick. Those people are too dependent on equipment or whatever for survival in these shelters. So they would then work with their local doctors, or they would go to a hospital or something along those lines to be able to have the care that they need should they need to evacuate their home.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, you have in front of you City of Deltona declaration of a state of local emergency with an emergency ordinance. As the chief recommended, we do this evening. That way we do not have to call a special meeting for tomorrow or Wednesday or any other day. So, Commissioner Bradford?
Do you need a motion?
Yes, we do. And Vice Mayor, can you take your name off the list?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
We don't have one with the blanks filled in, so I was just going to stand up here with my really bad voice and read this the best way I can, inserting things.
Okay.
So when we got a blank, we'll put blank, and then the clerk's office will fill these things in, okay?
Okay.
So it starts out, we start with emergency ordinance number blank dash 2022. An emergency ordinance relating to regulations during a state of local emergency, providing for curfew and exemptions, providing for the territory embraced, providing for penalties for violations, and providing an effective date. Whereas the city of Deltona, Florida, pursuant to municipal powers, Florida Statute Chapter 252 and Resolution Number 97, -21 has declared a state of local emergency, and whereas Florida Statute Chapter 252.38 provides authority for a political subdivision such as the city of Deltona to declare a state of local emergency and to waive the procedures and formalities otherwise require a political subdivision by law pertaining to taking whatever action is necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Whereas the City Commission finds and declares that in order to protect and safeguard the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the City of Deltona, the imposition of an emergency curfew is necessary, and now therefore be it ordained by the City Commission of the City of Deltona of Volusia County, Florida. 1, Section 1, during the state of local emergency, there shall be a general curfew throughout the city, and I'm just going to put beginning at blank. I'm going to put blanks in there until we can fill them in. By the authority establishing the state of local emergency, this curfew shall supersede all previous orders of curfew enacted by the city of Deltona. However, this restriction shall not apply to regular members of law enforcement bodies, employees of local businesses, industries, or government entities while traveling to and from their jobs, and all emergency workers are exempt, provided they have identification as stopped by any law enforcement personnel. Section 2, all territory within the legal boundaries of the city of Daytona shall be embraced by the provisions of this ordinance. Section 3, any person who knowingly violates that ordinance shall, upon each conviction, be subject to a fine not exceeding $500 or imprisonment in the county jail for a period of up to 60 days or by both such fine and imprisonment. 4, this emergency shall take effect immediately and shall be effective until the state of local emergency expires unless rescinded prior to that time, be duly adopted this 26th day of, what are we, September
September.
2022. And then we also have, in addition to City of Deltona, Florida, declaration of state of local emergency by the authority vested in me pursuant to Chapter 252 of the Florida Statute, Chapter 1, Section 3B1 of the Emergency Management Plan for the City of Deltona, adopted by Resolution Number 9721 of the Deltona City Commission on July 21st, 1997. I hereby declare a state of local emergency in the City of Deltona for the following reasons. We have an executive order, which is 22-21A, which has been signed by the Honorable Ron DeSantis, who has declared a state of emergency for the state of Florida as a result of the National Hurricane Center advisory predicting that Hurricane Ian will continue moving close to us in some way or another and will be a threat for much of Florida in the coming days. And at present, Hurricane Ian has sustained wind speeds in excess of 80 miles per hour that threatens the city of Deltona with extreme weather conditions, including the possibility of up to blank inches of rain. We can just say a lot of rain, which pose immediate danger to the lives and property of persons in the city. And the city of Deltona is plagued by an abundance of trees susceptible to wind throw and by low-lying areas subject to chronic and severe flooding, and the failure to take immediate action may result in injury, loss of life, and personal damage or loss. Again, ordered this 26th day of September 2022 by City of Deltona by Heidi K. Hertzberg, Mayor. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion, correct?
Yes. Okay.
Commissioner Bradford?
So can I just make a motion to, hereby make a motion to declare a state of local emergency effective immediately
Second.
per the emergency ordinance?
And resolution? Okay.
Second. Yeah.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Bradford, seconded by Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez for declaring a local state of emergency per the papers that were just read, with the blanks to be filled in by the clerk's office. Is that correct, Skip? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Any other questions by the commission? Commissioner Bradford, can you take your thing off? Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Yeah, my keypad's not working here.
Yeah, they're not coming off here either.
I just have a problem leaving blanks in this. So I'll leave that at that.
I would think the only blank on the local state of emergency is the inches of rain. And then on the other one, the curfew, we go by ordinance for that, sir?
We also need a number for the ordinance, which I don't have.
Okay.
23,
23?
yes.
Ordinance 23-2022. Okay, perfect. We have that.
And I apologize for this. I mean, we just found out that the county was doing it about an hour ago, so we tried to get it on the agenda so that we could save some, for y'all's convenience.
Okay, so the only other question that we need to address in this is the curfew. During the state of local emergency, there should be a general curfew throughout the city, beginning at, Chief Snyder, do you have what we've done in the past?
I don't have it in front of me, no, ma'am.
I think what if we put in what the county does in terms of a curfew? Is that acceptable? To follow what
Sure.
Volusia County does?
Sure.
Commissioners? Are we in agreement to talk about the curfew and use the same, by putting something in there, the curfew that's stated by Volusia County?
Sure.
Is that okay? I know. We can always come back and amend this, can we not?
Yes,
Skip?
ma'am.
Yes, okay. So,
Madam Mayor, in a state of emergency, the chief is actually in charge at that point of any disaster, or if it comes down to, everything's changed, it moves east, and we have to change a curfew and items, right? So at that point, he's, okay.
Well, I think the concern was just
The blanks.
of leaving the blanks. And the only thing about up to inches of rain, Chief, any recommendation?
Right now, the forecast is between 5 to 7 inches of rain. But again, that can change depending on the path of the storm. If the storm changes, it could be more one way, and it could be less the other.
And put up to 7 inches of rain or whatever you're comfortable with so that we don't leave that blank.
Okay.
All right, Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner King?
No, I don't guess so. I also have a problem with giving us, we talk about blank checks. This is another blank check. It's just one thing after the other. You want us to vote on something, and all the blanks are empty. I understand it happened only an hour ago, but you managed to get this here. If you couldn't do anything else, you could at least filled it in by hand, so we had something to go by, instead of having to go, oh, well, is it okay if we do this, and is it okay if we do that? What did we do last year? I don't know. I mean,
we don't have to do this
we're
tonight.
not looking good again, and I don't like that.
We don't have to do this tonight. We can go ahead and come back tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm fine with that. What does the commission prefer to do? There's a motion on the floor and a second, and if the commission's not comfortable, we can just vote this down and then just come back tomorrow or Wednesday after the county does it.
Call for the vote.
Okay, let's vote, please. And this is for doing this immediately. And the motion passes 4-3 to go ahead and do this today instead of coming back tomorrow. So please, City Clerk, provide an updated, filled-in version of this, and please send it out to the commission as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Okay, now we'll go on to the regular agenda. Item 4A, discussion regarding a lawsuit. Mr. Fowler, this was presented at our meeting the other night, and we should all have a copy of the settlement. We also had a shade meeting on this. So what do you need?
Mayor, if you, I'm sorry, there it is. We need approval from the commission, consistent, presumably, with your vote at the shade meeting. The agreement has been executed by, has been executed by Mr. Adams, and the statutory time within which he has to change his mind, because he's over the age of 40, believe it or not, has expired. So all we need is your approval and the mayor's signature.
Okay, commissioners, is there any comment on, do you have any comments on this? I don't see anyone lighting up the board. Do we have anyone that signed up for this for public comment? We'll go to that next for the discussion regarding the lawsuit.
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close that. Nobody wants to speak on this. Then we'll close the public comment portion to this. Let's see. Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to state for the record, which will be reflected in my vote, that the way that I vote this evening is the same way that I voted the other night. As a matter of public record, I did not believe that we had had all the information for this settlement, and my fear is that Deltona is becoming an easy target for lawsuits. And I just stated no after hearing what I heard, and after further digging, I'd stand by my vote. And again, I hope that we can address issues like this. I understand the reason we had the shade meeting, but there is information that was not available to us on the night that we voted for this, which is part of an ongoing pattern of not having all the information that we need. And we're being asked to make decisions that affect 100,000 people in our city, And I don't think, because we're in a hurry to sign whatevers, that we should be doing it on the backs of our voters, our residents, and that we need to be a little more diligent about having full information before we implement settlements, because the voters, the residents, our citizens deserve that. And I'm telling our public, we did not have all the information that we needed to have in order to make an informed decision on this. I believe there were documents that were still out there that were mentioned in the settlement agreement. And so I voted no, and I will be voting that way this evening for that very same reason.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Bradford?
I too want to explain why I'm going to vote the way I'm voting tonight. So at the meeting, it was presented to us, the evidence and the information. On the advice of our then interim city manager, he strongly advised that we do settle with this and that we proceed with this. So with their information and the information from the attorney, the reason we settled was with his knowledge of the case, the attorney's knowledge of the case, and them letting us know that the settlement amount is probably going to be far less than the amount that could be awarded had they win. I felt we had no choice but to make a decision based on it could be 3 times as much, if not more, if it went any further. So yes, I based the information off of legal and our interim city manager, Mr. Peters' advice to settle this and move forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to explain why I will vote in favor. And everything that Commissioner Bradford said was said at that room. And at the advice, I think it was the, not the current lawyer sitting here, but the insurance lawyer who advised us if we prolong this, it would be much worse for us because of documents that were mentioned that were not supposed to be mentioned here before. But that's the reason why I will vote in favor of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments by the commission? None. Commissioner McCool, in stating that there's more documentation that you feel should have been brought forth, do you want to share that with the commission? And I mean, I know that there was discussion about documents and that there was the opinion that those documents didn't matter to this lawsuit. I unfortunately did not have the time to look through all of those documents. I started and there's quite a few. So is there anything that you want to bring forth?
I would say that if there was enough public interest in it that they are a matter of public record now. I'm stating my opinion and the reason that I voted. I believe that there was a lot of subjective matter in there. I believe that there was some objective matter in there. These were records kept by Rich Adams. They were his personal notes. It was his personal notes regarding what he thought was retaliation. It was his personal notes regarding previous suits. It was his personal notes regarding a pattern of how we handle business. So there are just subjective matter in there, and it was just my opinion. I had, first of all, before I even knew what the documents were contained in the documents, my problem is that we were not given every bit of information to make, up from this dais right here, about not having complete information when we're asked to do a vote on anything else. We do. We hear this all the time. We don't have this or we don't have that, complete information. So as part of an ongoing thing that we didn't have enough, we didn't have all the information. And what somebody says they think is not pertinent to a case, when we do quasi-judicial matters, we are also expected to have all matter of evidence before us. That's what we're doing. And we're settling a lawsuit. My problem is that we were not presented with all of the evidence, and we wanted to not take any time, not even a day, before we made this decision. So we were pretty much going off of what the interim city manager or acting city manager said, the attorney for the insurance company, not best interest for Deltona residents, okay? And then our attorney also. Let's take the quick way out without thinking about what it says about us as a city. That was my problem. That we are discriminatory, that we've had this matter settled before from another lawsuit. And we took the settlement and we didn't go to fight. And so that's a blight on the city of Deltona. When you get a reputation for being discriminatory and all the other things that were hurled at us, and we're asked to make a settlement because we're scared to fight, because we're not doing what's right. That's what my fundamental problem is that we're getting a reputation. Now, if you get pissed off at the city of Deltona and you're asked to do your job, and you're asked to do your job thoroughly, we're gonna get sued for discrimination because we've set ourselves up as an easy mark now. Those are my issues with it. I just wanted that stated for the record. I understand everybody up here has a vote. I see 7 intelligent people sitting up here that are able. The vote went like it went. I respect that. I respect my counterparts here up on the dais. But in being true to what my values are as a commissioner for my residents, I just felt it important to say that. Again, we didn't have complete information. There's not one commissioner up here that hasn't said at one time, we don't have enough information to do this. Where's our information? Where is this? So there again, I'm expressing, and I hope that we can remedy that matter going forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that explanation. Commissioner Bradford?
Help me go back here, because I do believe at the meeting, we were specifically told the information that Mr. Peters, I believe, was the one talking about the information. And the attorney, let me phrase the attorney, the insurance attorney was very specific to say that those records would not be released until this was over, and they had little time to review it and didn't even think it was going to be substantial, whether that deterred the case or not. They said, if anything, they felt that information would assist his case into getting a larger settlement. So I understand the frustration. I was very frustrated as well. After the meeting, in all transparency, Mr. Peters took me in and he said he read the documents, and it was basically on prior city managers, and one other thing on him, and I think it was going to change his opinion that we should go forward. So it is difficult, and I do 100% agree that in these cases it's difficult because we're not always given everything we need, and we're always told we can't talk, we can't discuss, we can't do this, and we can't do that. And it makes it hard, and it makes it look bad on us up here. However, we have to take what information, I can say that, I have to take what information I'm given and act upon it. And, in this case, the individuals that were in charge and over this was their advice. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. So,
Madam Mayor?
yes, Commissioner Ramos is on the board, and then we'll go for a motion. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make it clear that obviously we had a shade meeting. It's public records. Let the residents listen to it, watch it, because we can go here back and forth and be emotional about different aspects of it and interpret what we would like to interpret, and I respect that. But there's no reason to re-litigate this whole situation again. There's public records. They have every right to ask for it.
Okay, Commissioner Bradford?
So, Skip, this says your action for discussion and direction is necessary. You need a motion, or you just need us to accept the settlement agreement?
Well, we need a motion accepting the settlement agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute same.
And you wanted to authorize what, I'm sorry?
Authorize the mayor to execute, to sign it.
The mayor to execute. I'm sorry, I couldn't
Yes.
understand what you were saying. All right, so I hereby make a motion to accept the settlement and allow the mayor to execute the documents to finalize the lawsuit.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Bradford. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez. No more discussion? We've gone through the public comments, so this is to accept the settlement as discussed in the shade hearing. May we vote, please? And before we vote, I just want to state that the settlement that's been reached here, the dollar amount, so people are clear, is paid for through the insurance from the city. It's paid for by the insurance company. Anything above and beyond the settlement, if it should go to trial, the city would be liable for. If the city votes this down and decides to take this to trial, it will be on the cost of the city, anything over and above this amount. So that's to be open and transparent, what we're talking about. Am I correct, Mr. Fowler?
That is the insurance company's position. I don't know that I particularly agree with it, but that is what they say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, may we vote, please? And the motion passes 4-3. We'll move to the next item, which is item B, approval of budgeted purchases for fiscal year 2022-2023. This was the item where the purchase orders were listed, and we asked to have this tabled or extended to date certain. Mary, would you just explain what it is that you need from the commission, please?
Okay. What I added was 4 columns to reference the line item that each purchase order is budgeted under and the budgeted funds.
Commissioner Bradford?
I guess my problem with this isn't the normal items. It's when I see as needed, as needed, as needed. When I see those, that's when I get a little concerned. You know, a lot of these I don't have a problem with, but when we're constantly seeing as needed, then not constantly, but there's quite a few in here. That's when I get a little concerned. So those as needed items, do those have to be approved right now, or are those things that, explain it a little bit more, because I'm not the only one that it's been brought up as well. So.
Okay. The city uses a process that's not uncommon, called a blanket purchase order, and this is for items that we don't know exactly what the need is going to be. A lot of those are in Public Works and Deltona Water, and to address what specific items they would be, I'd have to rely on Glenn Whitcomb. Sorry. Can you give me an idea of which items you have a question on?
Well, it's not a specific one. I mean, there's some in fire. There's some in a lot of the different departments. You know, and the thing is we have a budget, and the overall budget says, you know, we have X, Y, Z in that department, right?
Right.
So since you mentioned Public Works, we'll use Public Works. So they have something come up and they need to go buy it. Unless that exceeds $25,000, and tell me if I'm wrong, unless it exceeds $25,000 and it's obviously not within that budget, it's going to come to us.
Well, it depends on, and the reason why, like for example, on the first page, alternative power, and that's related to generator maintenance. It's listed the number of different times because each item here is with a different department. So, for example, like generator repair for City Hall, the control on here is the budget. So even though we have a purchase order for $60,000, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend $60,000. That's the maximum that can be spent. If it exceeds that amount, then we would come back to the commission to make an amendment to the budget. We can't exceed the budget lines unless there's an amendment that goes before the commission. That's city charter. So just because there's a blanket purchase order for that amount does not necessarily mean we're going to spend that. It's as needed.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Whitcomb, can you just come up and just to give an example of this, Number 120 is Ferguson Water Works. Number 26 for $4,000 as needed flushing equipment and supplies. That's number 120, just as one example.
One example is with Ferguson, it is different parts that we need for the distribution system. We have, throughout the year, we have water main breaks, those kinds of things, new services that need to be installed for residents, to get them water service. So that stuff is put into a blanket purchase order to be able to purchase. And I know the other night, and I'm sorry if I'm stepping out of bounds, but the other night I know it came up about the as-needed wells. The wells are very important, as you know, and we have a program where we go in and we investigate the wells. This is something new that we've started in the last year or two. And a lot of times when you get in, you'll find stuff. Those wells that are here have been here a long time, obviously. And so we get in, they do an investigation of a well. They'll pull a motor and pump or pull a pump up, and they'll find some issues with the column pipe. They could find something wrong with the casing itself, those kind of things. So those things need to be fixed as quick as we can, to keep the reliability of service and the level of service there. So that particular one that was brought up that night, that's what that was. So. And again, Ferguson Water Works for the distribution supplies. It's just an ongoing thing that we have to have. Materials. We don't spend it if we don't need it. We wouldn't do that. Just to let you know.
And just to let you know, it wasn't just that. There's many departments. That's why I was like not picking on any department, but it's in here throughout the whole budget, all 300 line items.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions on this? If not, we'll go to public comment. Has anyone signed up for public comment on this item?
Madam Mayor, we have one public comment. Richard Bellick, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Bradford, can you just take your name off? If you're done, thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. How is everybody?
We're great.
Good. I just want to say one thing. You have to admire the Deltona Fire Department because they stick together. They're not like the residents. See, the residents, they quibble with each other over small petty stuff and everything passes them by, and that's why you have a city that's looks like a failure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That closes public comment unless anyone else wanted to come up and speak. Nope. Okay. All right, commissioners, we need a motion and a second on these purchase orders. Commissioner Bradford?
I move to approve the list of purchase orders for fiscal year 22-23.
Properly moved by Commissioner Bradford, seconded by Commissioner Ramos. Just to be clear, before we go through these purchase orders, number, let's see, where was it here? Was it? Okay, that's all I needed to know. I thought it was. I just want to make sure.
The 174, the 174,000 was removed.
That purchase order was removed for the contract?
Okay.
Okay,
I thought it
that's all.
was.
I thought so, but I want to make sure. Commissioner, okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move on to the next item. Item C is discussion on interim city manager. This item is based on commission consensus at Monday night's regular commission meeting. So commissioners, there was Commissioner Bradford, I believe, requested that we discuss the interim city manager situation as soon as possible, and that is why it is on this special meeting. So Commissioner Bradford, or does anyone have any comments on this?
I don't know what we need to do. I know, Marcia's in here as our interim. What do we need to do to start the motion of, I did forward a resume over that I received. I don't know who else received it. to Miss Marcia, and that was, I believe, from Jim Chisholm. Out of the retired, he was retired. He also had called us, me personally, a week ago. I did some inquiries on him, and I'm going to say I've heard good, bad, it just depends on whose opinion you're talking to and what you're going to see. What are we going to do as far as at this point? I mean, at this point, we need to do something to get an interim in place.
That's correct. Marcia is in this position for one more week, and then we need to do something like that. Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, one thing that was never discussed last Monday night was compensation for Marcia. Is she being billed at the regular attorney rate, or is she going to be billed at what John was at?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So prior to last Monday night, that became Tuesday, my billing will still be at the legal rate. All of the things I'm doing right now is based on John's contract, so all of that billing, it's being converted to an hourly rate for me, and so all of that will be for the remainder, hopefully, of my 2 weeks would be billed at that rate.
At what John's previous
Yes.
rate?
No benefits, nothing like that, just that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, commissioners, do we have anyone that signed up for public comment for this item?
Madam Mayor, there are 2 public comments, Kathy Bryan, then Jody Lee. Kathy Bryan, please.
Thank you. Commissioner King, do you want to wait till public comment, or would you like to speak now?
I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Skip, I need some clarification, because I'm not sure that the legalities of a attorney that's representing the city is legally able to hold the position of city manager or interim city manager at the same time that they're still legal. I mean, part of a legal team.
I understand the question, Commissioner, and the answer is unquestionably yes. Now, there might be situations in which it might be no, but this is not one of them. So you're good the way you are.
Okay.
Commissioner McCool?
I'll wait until after public comments, thank you.
Okay.
Kathy Bryan, please.
Good evening, everybody. Kathy Bryan, Deltona. Let's hope that this time you guys actually look for a city manager, because it was brought up by myself, Mr. King, several others on the commission, residents, and nobody did everything. I know anytime I mentioned it, I got little grins. That's nice. I'm not a fan of Chisholm. I think we can do better than that. I know we're on a stretch for time, because I know Ms. Marcia doesn't like this. But do something about it this time. I mean, we're paying right now, it's money for nothing. You guys could have kept Mr. Peters until November, and instead of paying him to do nothing, he could have been working. I know you think he was out of, he left this all behind, but he's a professional engineer, and he would have continued to do the job and made it an easier handoff than just whoop. And I'm saying that not because I like Mr. Peters or don't like Mr. Peters, but just for the fact of fiscal responsibility. Now you're spending my money on nothing. You're concerned maybe he might bring around a lawsuit. Well, insurance pays for lawsuits. Who pays insurance premiums? Me. And when you have a lot of lawsuits, guess what happens to your insurance premiums? You have a lot of residents speaking about the budget that they, can't afford. But yeah, here we are again, spending money on nothing. Get the job done this time. Find a real manager. Don't settle. And of course, now you're also in the situation of having to find one where you don't exactly know what your charter is going to be until after the election. That's going to make it a little more difficult too. And the other thing you can do to keep from getting so many lawsuits is decrease the amount of airtime you give these people when it's spread around on social media and stuff like that. That gives them airtime. When you talk about them up on the dais, that gives them airtime. They eat that up, really. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jody Lee, and then Brandy White. Jody Lee, please.
Yeah, so serious. Jody Lee, 777 Cortland Boulevard. How y'all doing tonight? Mayor, commissioners, thanks for doing a good job doing your thing. I just hope you guys hold off for this. There's a bunch of them seats up there about to change. I think we should hold off till after the election and make sure that's all done. Let her sit there. It ain't hurting none of us. The rest of the decisions are already made. But after the election, there's going to be a lot of new faces up there. And we also need to find a good city manager, one that will tell everybody what's going on, one that'll give you guys all the information that you asked for, one that'll be upfront about all kinds of stuff. I know there's different issues people are finding out. Nobody knew information. It was all in his head. It was never on paper. Well, guess what? That don't screw you guys. It screws us too. I think we should just take our time to get a real city manager and take care of things. I mean, that city manager, we've been worrying about the fire department contract for I don't know how long now. I know Mr. Peters didn't like the fire department. That should have been, they're the ones that save us. They shouldn't be fighting over a contract with them. But we should take our time for a real city manager, you know, and somebody that's going to hold people that work for the city accountable. There's a lot of dead weight, people just doing nothing to get a paycheck in this city. We need to get a city manager that has a spine that'll get rid of dead weight, hire decent people. It's been an ongoing thing in this city. It needs to change. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Brandy White, then Tara DiErico. Brandy White, please.
Brandy White, Deltona. You mentioned you were going to be paid city manager's rate as of Tuesday. What role were you in when you were at the P&Z meeting?
I was a lawyer.
Perfect, thank you. And my next question is regarding the mention of the retired Daytona Beach city manager. I just want to read for you something I found within just a few seconds. The previous commissioner often questioned his overt defiance and lack of response to her request. She had to question grants and public funds that benefited political supporters of fellow commissioners. And despite opposition to spending measures, private parties often outvoted the rest of the city commission. So, I mean, we're kind of just seeing the same thing we just got rid of not that long ago. Some of the comments here from commissioners were left out in the cold, and if you ask questions, you're put off limits and staff won't talk to you. It's so hard to get information since Jim started. Staff is afraid to speak to me because they're afraid for their jobs. It's just too much to brush under the rug. I can't distinguish rumors from fact at this point. I'd like to hear from the mayor and city manager what's going on. It goes on to say that he is widely despised by residents and feared by city's employees who are terrified to lose their job at any whim. It goes on to say he's strongly supported by special interests. Do I need to go on? We just went through this. Think about it. That name should have never even came up, because when the first phone call came in, you should have did the research right away. Should I even suggest it? That's all I got for tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tara DiErico, then Richard Bellick. Tara DiErico.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So just some questions I'd like to bring forth to ensure that they're being considered is, how will there be a separation of duties? So while Marcia's the interim city manager, will Marcia temporarily step down as acting or as our acting city attorney? So that's just one question. And then also too, as we move forward with appointing our next city manager, I'm asking that we be proactive and not only focus on our immediate short-term need, but to think of our long-term need and what upskilling, development, and growth is needed for existing staff so we're not left in this vulnerable position again. At our last meeting, we heard it's the opinion of some on the dais our existing deputy city manager may not have the skills or knowledge needed to manage our city. Only ever having one person who knows how to do any job is never good for business. It's just not a good business continuity practice. And we really need to stop putting ourselves in this position. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, we can't seem to hold on to city managers, and I'm hoping this time we learn from our mistakes and put business models in place to ensure that we're not put in this position again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Richard Bellick, then Albert Bryant. Richard Bellick, please.
I wish John Peters good health and a long life. Okay, here's the deal. 2 years ago, I stood up here when Peters came, and I brought out the fact to you. He was bringing O'Grady, Fowler. The three of them all worked together before. This was like putting a front line on a hockey team. You're putting three cohorts together that knew each other, okay? And look what you got out of it. I warned you people. I had the article. O'Grady held a kid's dog. He wanted the dog because it was a certain type of dog, and he wouldn't give it back. And what happened? You just hired him. I proved to you that animal control went to his house and had to demand the dog with a subpoena. Come on now. You just got to smarten up. You can't let this happen again. Now, Bradford, you're getting some spirit back in you for the people. Stay that way. You went into a rezone for a couple of months there. Everything was houses, rezones.
Mr. Bellick, no personal attacks.
It's not a personal attack.
Address the chair,
It's
please.
not a personal attack.
Please.
Stop.
Thank you.
Do it now. You're doing good. You're starting to fight. We need fighters. Here's a guy here on the corner, sitting over here, David Sosa. Here's a guy, he poured out more corruption and more stealing right to you, and you just want to let him go? You'll take a guy like O'Grady, but you'd never put a guy like him in O'Grady's position. Why? Why? You just would never even think about it. He has. The guy's done it time after time. Who found O'Grady's contract being slipped in? Him. David Sosa found it. What do you need? Do you have like a complex? You're so jealous of people that might be a little smarter than you? Or you're put down? I mean, come on, this is getting ridiculous now. You were warned. You were warned about recycling politicians. 2 years ago I did it. I told you can't do this. How could you put the three of them together? And look what happened. Everybody's laughing again. Comedy show. Come on. Now, you want to take a guy for 18 years that's criticized, people hate him. You got people in Daytona, they'll supply the horse and the rope for this guy. And you're thinking about hiring him. Come on, you're going to get the same thing. You got to get smart someday. I mean, some of you are up for election. I mean, what is it? You just can't see this? You don't have mirrors home where you look in the mirror and say, hey, this is the wrong thing. Come on. You recycle politicians. You take the bottom of the barrel and you bring them to Deltona and they make big paychecks. And then when they get caught, whatever they're doing or however, they walk away laughing, then they sue you and they get more money. Then you get this guy over here. He never found a conflict of interest since he's been here. Marcia doing two jobs is not a conflict of interest. Okay, fine. Maybe in Deltona, but anywhere else it wouldn't be like that. And I tell you, and I can't stress it enough, something has to be done about their pay. You know the kind of money. They're taking over $1 million a year out of Deltona. They settle every lawsuit. They never win nothing. And then they sit here with a grander than you attitude. They lose all the time. This is recycling. No conflict of interest, never. Come on, you can't do this no more to the people. Do something, give them something. You all complain about your small checks, but you do take a check.
Thank you, sir.
Albert Bryan, then Santiago Avila. Albert Bryan, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. You know, I've seen it seems familiar to me, and I don't know why. Let's review this just a little bit here. We fired Jane. Oh, that's right, because she was a criminal. Okay, that was legit. We got rid of Cooper. Oh, I think that was personal differences. And, oh, he came back and sued us, didn't he? And you chose to settle. That seems to be a theme around here. Sue us and we'll settle. But, you know, it's okay. So then we have Peters. Peters here for 2 years. And then we seem to get rid of him for personal reasons because I don't remember him breaking the law. Okay. So, but here's the common theme about all of this. When we got rid of Jane, I asked y'all to do a search. Oh, that's right, a search for a headhunter. So we could actually take and look for a real manager. And it's funny, when y'all got rid of Cooper, I said the same thing. Do a search for a headhunter so we can get a real manager in here. And here we are again. And I haven't heard a single word out of any of y'all up there saying we need to actually do a search for a headhunter. You know how long it takes to do a search for a headhunter? By the time the search for the headhunter's done, a new commissioner will be sitting up there, and they can make the decision. Why delay something that's inevitable? Or is it just that y'all like Deltona to look really bad? Thank you for pointing that out earlier tonight, too. That was really elderly spokesman-like of you there, Mr. King. I thought that was great. It's amazing the stupidity that has gone on here lately. It really is. I just can't wrap my head around some of this. To bring in, to even mention a name like Chisholm in a city that has had so much bad press from managers and others is just amazing to me. It really is. What was the last thing I read in the paper about him? That he hired an outside attorney and the mayor claimed that was illegal? That was all over the place. And y'all want to bring that into here? It wasn't enough that y'all give us bad press?
Santiago Avila, please.
Santiago Avila, Deltona, Florida. I have a question for the commission. Peters was here for 2 years, correct? Anybody? 2 years? Thank you, David. Thank you, King. Why not start a search for a city manager then? Why get comfortable? Why get us in a situation like the one we're in? This is the problem we have. When we elect people that we think we can trust, and they just keep kicking the can down the road. I'm talking to you guys as a resident, not as anything else. Literally 2 years. Mr. Peters, whether he did an amazing job or not, he was an interim city manager. For 2 years, we were okay with him violating our city charter, but we're not okay with paying him until November, paying Marcia until November, or a week or whatever it is, paying the new interim that comes in until we get a new person. How much money are we dishing out to all these people? You want to know why this room isn't full? Because people like me stop coming because no matter what we say, I don't know if there's a blockage in the ear tunnel, but it just stays right there. It doesn't go in, and if it goes in, it comes out the other ear. 2 years. We can't keep him to November 17th or 27th, whatever it was. I don't even know. We still have a deputy city manager sitting right there that's fully capable, but because of personalities and favoritism and who we like and we don't, we rather bring in Chisholm in here, right? Marcia knows a lot. I'm not saying she doesn't. Let her advise the deputy city manager. Why do we have to keep spending all this money? But what do I know about financials, right? Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, this ends public comment.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McCool and then Commissioner Bradford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are, in talking and discussing this for long-term and short-term, we have a couple of things that we need to think about, which I've thought about. One is we will have a new dais seated come Election Day, and they will be stuck or gifted with the choices that we make up here in the interim. So I believe that we need to think carefully about that and be good steward of them. There's also the question, which I have not heard anything about, maybe someone has, regarding the validity of Mr. Peters' contract. I've not heard anything being cleared up about that, because as I saw it, the employment contract the last one was from May, and I also know we talked about it not being signed, and I would like to understand what the legalities of that is, because there's going to be consequences, as it were. So I'd like to know how we're settling that. Hiring a city manager, we still have, which I looked at this week, we still should have 5-6 folders of headhunters for a city manager, which should be started, but we will need that direction from the new sitting dais about that. So what we have is the question of who do we have right now in the interim with Marcia leaving. There's some strong visceral reaction to Mr. Chisholm. I know that I have sat down and I've talked with also former city manager Dave Denny. I don't know if anyone has sat down with him. He is more than capable. He has stormwater and water experience. He has emergency management experience. I know that he also has contract negotiation experience, and while we search for a new city manager, and I also believe that it's depending on what the charter says, we need to entertain also RFP for our legal, and that's just it's just the black and white of it. If we come back with a charter and they want people to live in the city, we're going to have to do that, and we need to start thinking about that, as that were. There's also a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking that goes on here since Mr. Peters has left, and anybody can do that Monday morning quarterback when things go sideways, and it's up to this commission to build us back. Speaking of the firefighter negotiations, I've heard and read a lot about that over the last few weeks, as it were. There's a lot of innuendo that runs around. There's a lot of bad feelings that go on between the two. It's caused a split and fracture in this dais up here. It has caused problems with the city manager that has resigned. And these are the things that I know about this, that we have a fire department that is completely 100% committed to serving the residents of Deltona. They do so with honor, they do so with pride, they do so with commitment, and they give 110% and always have of what we have. I also understand that separate from that, there is the fire union who negotiates the contract. And negotiating contracts at any time, there are two parties, each of the parties trying to get what's best for the other. I respect unions. I have family on the job, right, in firefighting and law enforcement. My father was a law enforcement officer. And so these contract negotiations can be tenuous at best. And they're stressful, and they're tedious, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And just because we never had these problems before, we've probably never been as strapped since 2008 or 9 as far as financially. And we have a fiduciary responsibility up here to one another. We have one to the firefighters to make sure that they are compensated fairly, to make sure that we can
retain help that we need to have good stewards in our city. And at the same turn of the coin, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our residents. And I will tell you with 100% certainty that Ms. Kifalo, I've spent about 20 hours on these contracts between this week and last week. That's what I did with my weekend. They are complicated. It's a lot of give and take, and Ms. Kifalo is more than qualified to do that. If there are personality conflicts, I say go to the sandbox or put on boxing glove, but that's been enough for our city, and the crap needs to stop because we each need the other side, and it's stupid, whatever it is. John Peters is gone now. We have to deal with that, all of us. I miss him. I make no bones about it. I'm sure other residents do, and I'm sure other commissioners do. But this is what it is, and we have to move forward for our city. There are things in the contract. Firefighters have welcomed us to come to meetings. There are public meetings held around these negotiations. I know that there are questions that everyone has about this, that Ms. Kifalo, you can make time to sit with her. You can make time to sit with the fire union. We have smart people, and we need to use those faculties in order to move our city forward because we have a responsibility for 100,000, and the union has a responsibility for their brothers and sisters. And I'm sick of the divisiveness that this has caused. There are things in the contract that we need to think about as far as marrying city policy and what contracts say. Do we believe things like our fire department, the brothers and sisters, need to be randomly drug tested when our city employees are? Pay, pension, how are we funding it? What those numbers really are. And those are serious questions for serious people. And all the tomfoolery doesn't do anybody any good. So for me, it ends today. I am honest and open about this. Our city needs to get back on the right track. We need to talk right now about people that can handle these. But the bad talking for me stops now. I don't want to hear any more about our deputy city manager because she's brilliant and she's doing a good job. If you have a personality conflict, then ask yourself, what part do you have in that conflict on either side? I don't care, because everybody's got a part. Remember, when you point the finger at somebody, these are pointing back at you. We must stop it now. So I would like to know that we are moving forward with a search for a city manager in earnest, depending on the outcome, the parameters of what our charter says after the elections. I would also like for us to not politicize this any further because it's damaging to our city. I would like to understand how we end our relationship with Mr. Peters. I would like to understand that. And I would like to understand that we understand that and that we move forward with a competent interim city manager. I've brought forth one, and I am sure that the dais is willing to entertain other people as well. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Bradford and then Commissioner Sosa, and then we'll address some of the questions regarding, especially regarding the contract. I think that needs to be addressed.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bradford, but, and I brought this up at the last meeting, it is my belief that the contract negotiations need to be stalled until we have a clear path forward, right? Until we put together, again, Ms. Kifalo, but I know that she has peripheral support, but she needs real support in putting this together, because I also ask that we never, ever do this again during an election year. The optics, even if there's nothing nefarious there, the optics suck for our city, and we need to address that also. So, Commissioner Bradford, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, but I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Madam Mayor, I would love to address the comments that were thrown up here. Let's start with, I was 100% transparent. I said, I received an email from Jim Chisholm, did I not? And that he called me. Did I say, oh, we're going to hire Jim Chisholm? I don't think I said that. I threw out that I was sent a resume and that I forwarded that resume, and then I also saw some good and some bad. So let's clarify that. Just as we had a resident come up here and say, we have people who want to take what we say and twist it up and make it sound like it's something more than it is, okay? 1. 2, it has been brought up, I can't even tell you countless times, that we needed to do a search for an interim city manager. I was laughed at by our past city manager, and the words were, do you want to hear the joke? The joke is that our charter states all we have to do is start the search. Ha ha, we started the search, I'm your interim city manager. And that's where it went. Then, we did choose a firm, but I don't believe it went any further. At this point, I don't know if we all want to, as you know, Commissioner McCool said, go back over all of those firms, review it again, start that firm process search again. I mean, because that did cost money. I don't know how much money it's going to be, but again, there's another expense doing the firm search again that we've already done once and we selected. I don't even know if they're willing to do it 2 years later at the same price that they originally had negotiated, so I'm assuming it's probably void. And that would be a good question on, do we need to put out a new RFP for a search? I think Dave Dunning is an awesome choice. I would love, I mean, he didn't reach out to me personally, but if that's somebody who's willing to do an interim, here's my concern. We have a lot of projects going on, and I think Ron can contest to this. Deltona is growing at a speed of lightning. There are so many awesome projects out there. Services, businesses, it's just where we're going right now. This is ridiculous we're sitting up here even doing this. Because we are like on the map as the city to go to and add this restaurant, add that, add that, add that. And instead of us being up here all jolly for it, we're doing this. So I want to make sure we don't do like we've made the mistake before, and we take a staff member and we put a staff member in a position, because a wise person told me, I don't want to go into a position as an interim because I got to go out of my management role and go into being the boss, and then to go back. Very rarely are you in a comfortable position when you do that, because now you have a lot of animosity. And they advise, you know, you want to keep a good staff member, don't put him in a position. Obviously, we've learned that, okay? The 2 individuals that we just recently lost, they had no actual city manager experience, but they had great experience in the field they were in, okay? Could they possibly still be in those fields? Quite possibly. So it's very important for the businesses, the staff, and our residents that we find somebody, even in the interim, that has run a city. Not as an interim, not as a wannabe, but they have had actual city manager experience. That's critical. And then when the new city commission, after the election gets in here, they will be able to do their choice, because they're going to be the ones dealing with that person. After this election, I've got 2 years. So guess what? Hopefully that person they bring in is somebody that's going to be here, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. So we do have a decision to make. So are there groups or organizations we can find, like we had discussed, that have retired city managers that we can get resumes from and do a small search just to get somebody in the interim until the election's over, and the new commission can decide at that point the search for the new, you know, manager, or start the search, you know. The RFPs, like how long, Marcia? You know, 60 days for even the search firm?
Your mic, Marcia.
To go through the process the way you've talked about it, and I apologize, I'm losing my voice. But anyway, it's a 6-month, you have to look at it as a 6-month process with advertising, and they bring you folks and then interviewing. Going through it, I would say you should estimate 6 months. And so whoever you pick as an interim, I think you have to look at them being in that position for 6 months. That's realistic. I only said I'd do it for 2 weeks. I have 1 more week left. And I'm not going to, I have no interest in doing it longer than that. I'm willing to help whoever, you all want to pick. I've worked with Dave Denny. I have great respect for him. I know him, and, I think he might, to be a good person. The problem is there's an organization called the Range Riders, and they're made up of retired city managers. And the difficulty is then you're going to have to go through a process. Again, pick a few of them. We can get names. You pick a few, then you're going to have to interview them and, check references and all of that. So I don't think you can do that in 1 week. But that is an option that you can go through. But I have also, I've been here through 3 of those managers. I think that you need someone with professional experience and someone who's managed before. I think that's a real key point. And this place is not an easy place for even experienced people. I've had a week like I haven't had in a number of years, and part of it is I'm older than the last time I managed, so maybe that's a difference. But by the same token, it is a hard place, and as you say, it's changing and growing. Just in the land use area, which is my specialty, we have so much going on and so many issues that need to be dealt with. Then you have a lot of projects. You are growing, so that just grows the job and the people you need to support it. So I think going through that search process, getting a professional management, and seeing some professional managers that have managed before is really important for whoever's sitting up there. I think it's a really necessary step.
Well, did Mr. Denning speak to you about being interim at all, or?
Did who?
Did Dave Denning speak to you? Or
no, I have not spoken to him. I've worked with him in the past, and so I know him. I think he's a very capable man. He's very honest, and I think he is relatively easy to work with in that sense, and he has a lot of knowledge. So,
I wouldn't be at all objected to that, but I would like us to at least get the RFP out for the search firm again. I think that's important. We're already almost to October, and, even if you do a 30-day RFP, or 45-day, by then, we should have a new commission up here that, at that point, they would be able to go over resumes and, at least get the search firm going.
Mayor? One item I'd like to point out to the commission, and I agree that you should probably look for a search firm, but that search firm is going to want to know what happens with the charter in November so that they can put out the appropriate information to somebody that may not want to move across the street to be able to take the job if the charter isn't revised. So you're kind of stuck with, while you can find the firm, get them arranged to go, the advertisements probably shouldn't go out until after the election.
I don't think any advertisement should anyway. I think the advertisement should go out, with a new commission, because they need to sit down and they need to say, this is what we need to have on the advertisement.
After the election.
Right, so after the election, the new commission's the one that says, this is what we need, X, Y, Z, and then they put the search out. But this just gets the resumes in so that when the new commission comes here, not saying that we're going to pick, but those resumes will be here, so when that new commission's here, they can actually...
I don't think that's likely to be a good case, because if you seek the resumes now for the city manager position or for the search firm?
For the search firm.
That's fine. I thought you were referring to the city manager.
No. I want to put it out now for the search firm.
Good.
So in 45 days, or however long we do the RFP for, then by that time, we're almost to the end of November, Skip.
Exactly.
Our
No
October,
problem.
October 1st is next, this week? So we need to start that search firm now, not the city manager, search firm.
Commissioner Bradford, I'm sorry.
Mike's off.
Commissioner Bradford, would you not agree also that it costs nothing to call the prior people? It costs nothing to do that, to call the prior people that had put in for the search firm to see who is still interested or not. That's $0 right there, and that might eliminate some time, money.
I think that we should have, 5 of them or something that came out? We should all have the applicants from last time.
Mayor, since everybody's jumping in, I might as well jump in. Do we still have records of the 2 agencies that we picked last time? Do we still have that on file? Right, because we have voted on 2 agencies back then.
I'll bring you all the information we have so y'all can review it, and if they gave us prices, we can definitely ask them if they'll hold their prices.
Right, because out of 5, I think 2 were selected.
Okay, I'll get you everything that I can do.
Okay.
So we need an interim, is what she's saying?
Well,
she's saying I'm only here 1 more week.
Yeah,
So we should
yeah.
be saying let's
Well,
get an interim.
we have with the search firm we can get all that information of all the companies that put in last time and who we chose. And like you said, call them, make a phone call and see if what is the price difference in the last 2 years, and if they're still even in business. I mean, it's a very small group that does search. I mean, you're not looking at 20 different companies, you're probably looking at 7 or 8. Yeah, there were some, they were from across the country. So I think that is, commissioners, are you good with that direction to look at what we had and bring forth the previous search firms and see, and take a look and revisit that, and at least before we put it out, go ahead and see what's available. So, okay, Commissioner Bradford, are you good right now? Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, just a question for the interim city manager. Have you looked to find another interim city manager in the past week? Okay. I guess it's, whose responsibility is it to find a new interim city manager? Should it be the commission's job to go and look for one, or should the interim reach out to somebody and bring somebody in? Whose job would that be?
Oh, yeah, we give them, we would give the direction as to what direction the commission wants to go. I mean, it has to be done by a vote on what the commission would like to do. Would the commission, I mean, she said she's done in a week. So, we have to have a discussion of what's next. I don't think it's their responsibility to seek candidates unless they know someone or someone has reached out. If someone reaches out to anyone, that's one thing, which is what's happened. But if not, that is, you could make the argument that they're, picking their friends or whatever. So I think, that's normally, normally you would go through and do a search for an interim that would take you through the 6 months. And interview people or have people come and address who would like to be that person. So, which I think that's what's happened here.
Okay, so is it up to the commission to just go out there and put something out there to say, hey, we need an interim city manager for a short term? Or would we give direction to the interim city manager to say, hey, look, can you reach out to this company and have them send some folks our way to review them?
Well, I think, one can reach out to the range riders. We, looked into that several years ago, and looked at doing something like that, and then we chose someone, I believe, internally. I don't remember which time that was, but I think that was the recommendation back then when we put, I think, Mr. Baker in for a year. So,
So would the commission reach out to the range riders, or would we direct the interim city manager to reach
Skip,
out?
what is your recommendation in terms of who reaches out to whom?
Well, Marcia has indicated her reluctance to undertake that, especially since it very well easily could take more than a week. So perhaps what we can do is get the city clerk's office involved as well, reach out to the range riders, and certainly if any of the commissioners become aware that someone is available or that could be available, advise the clerk or myself, and we'll reach out to them to see if they wish to make an application as interim. But time is short.
So basically what we're saying here is that this commission needs to give direction to the interim city manager to either reach out to HR or the clerk's office to get this going.
Right.
And exactly my question is then, I know Vice Mayor, you're on the board, do you want to, you okay waiting just a second? Because the question is, what are you asking for? Are you asking for people to come in and put their name in so that we can do a round of interviews to pick someone, Is that what the commission is asking for? Because you're looking at a week in the middle of a hurricane.
Okay, if I could help.
Your mic, Marcia.
Doesn't want to go on. I've been a manager, a city manager, and a county manager. So what I will do is I will contact the range riders and give them our timeline and tell them you're looking basically for an interim manager. It could be as long as 6 months if you're going to go through the recruitment. And if they could give us, I think 3, is 3 names enough for you, or do you want 5? Just tell me.
Well, I think it's who's going to be available to do that.
And then I will ask for resumes, and then I will circulate them amongst all of you, and then we can set them up for interviews as quickly. It would be a public meeting, you'd interview them, and you all can pick. How about that? Does that work for everybody? Okay.
Vice Mayor, are you done, Mr. Sosa?
Thank you, Mayor. I know that Mr. Dennis' name has been thrown around, but it's my understanding that he was also interviewed by Mr. Peters. He came and spoke to Mr. Peters, so I don't know what the outcome was of that conversation. But I just want to say that I want to give a shout out to our staff, because nothing has stopped since we don't have a city or acting city manager. Nothing has stopped. Everything is on course. Every project is on course. Nothing has stopped. So I just want to give a big shout out to all our city staff for making sure that nothing has changed because one person is no longer here. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do.
Okay, so question, several issues came up here tonight. The one is discussing the headhunting firm for looking for a city manager. And I think we are clear that we are going to reach out to the previous firms that responded to the RFP and see, first of all, who's still in business. Second of all, what are they charging? And especially the firm that we chose, what is the status with them? And bring all that forward, including the same packet that we had in the past. We may even still have those packets here of their bid package. So that was number one. Number two, Commissioner McCool, you asked for some update on the contract for Mr. Peters. Correct, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Skip, there was reference the other night, last week, to the contract that was attached to the agenda was signed. There was a contract put up here that was not signed and was a contract I had not seen before. And then there was discussion about amending his contract by the May 2nd meeting, where it was nothing was ever brought forward from him, from my understanding, but verbally, things were amended in that meeting, and there was a 5-2 vote to accept those amendments, but those were never memorialized. Am I wrong in that, the way that went?
Well, to be candid with you, I don't remember the May meeting, so what we would have to do is go back to the clerk's records and basically listen to the meeting to see who said what to whom.
And I think some of us have done that in terms of addressing that. And then the bigger question becomes, since there was only one signed contract, which was attached to the agenda, when we modified that verbally on that May 2nd meeting, I believe it was May 2nd, on that commission meeting, does that then, and I think the big question is that then a legal and binding document?
It can be, yes.
Because it was voted on. And so I think that the direction needs to be for the clerk's office at some point to go ahead and give us, or we can sit down and watch the meeting and look at what was discussed in the contract, because things that were discussed were severance pay or a cap on vacation and so forth, and there was a salary adjustment, and there was also discussion about going back or not to Public Works, because what prompted that discussion was the fact that we had hired a Public Works director, put someone in there permanently. So does that help you, Commissioner McCool? Because I think that's all we have.
It does, and here, for the sake of transparency, I just want to make sure that we have this right, because the city needs closure and to move forward. We deserve that. You know, I have gone back in time as well and want to make sure, because this commission and commission before have amended whole contracts because something got left out, right, have gone back. So I want to make sure that we are not exposed to any liability. I want to understand that the terms of the contract was not termination, because there are a different set of standards or rules or compensation that applies to that. So I want all of those questions answered, and so that we can close it out regarding the tenure, regarding going back to Public Works, regarding if that was a verbal versus written, regarding any severance package. I just want for us to close that pretty quickly, because the new commission coming in should not have to, you know, to clean that up. So if we could get some answers that, you know, before that happens, that would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So we have three, Commissioner King, Commissioner McCool, and then Commissioner Bradford on the board. Commissioner King?
Yeah, I just have a question, because, you know, I just feel like we're running around. I feel like a rat in one of those tumbler things. When we were here last Monday and we were discussing this, Marcia said over and over and over again that she would have to go back and look at that tape and find out what it says, and that we could have some clarity as to what was going on. Now here we are tonight, we're asking the exact same question, and Skip is saying, well, we'll have to go back and look at the tape. The tapes obviously haven't been looked at yet, and we haven't gotten any answers yet, and it's been a whole week. And that bothers me. We had the same questions Monday. And from what I understand, and I have not looked at it, but from what I understand, a resident who was watching this went to the city website, pulled it up, and posted it on Facebook before our meeting was over. Of course, the meeting lasted until what? Oh, yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was on Facebook that night. I don't know why we don't have an answer to this question already. We should have something by now. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I think we should have that information already.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Bradford?
Bingo. That was part of what I was going to talk about. So at the meeting last week, Skip, we discussed that at the May 2nd meeting, as the mayor said, it was voted on to approve a new contract for Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters' contract had been amended previous to that. A couple questions that I've had. I've seen him out there. We've received the nasty grams. Whose responsibility was it after that May 2nd meeting to revise his contract again? Because I know the first 2 times he revised the contract, he gave it to us all, we voted on it, signed it, and it was done. I'm also wanting to make sure, we accepted his resignation effective immediately. Just to catch you up, the May 2nd meeting, he basically stated that he wanted the 20-week severance pay because his position was going to be filled and he would no longer have a position to go back to, right? So, to clarify, by paying him, let's call it paid leave, we accepted his resignation effective immediately on the date that he said, and we pay him paid leave until that. So, let's just throw it out there. Everybody wants to know. So, is he allowed severance pay at this point? Yeah, you're the attorney.
Commissioner, I wish I could give you a firm answer, but I can't. I mean, I've heard the question and I understand the question, but without going back and listening to the meeting or reading the transcripts and then looking at the contract, I would be very reluctant to give you a firm answer today.
Okay, because I believe it was directed at the last meeting that we have staff go back and do verbatim meeting minutes. So that may be something that you could reside. And I think that's what we're all talking about up here is we all want answers. We all want to know. Because we're being accused of we didn't execute the contract when in fact we don't write contracts. That's not our job. We vote on it, and generally, like the last one, the city manager wrote it, gives it to the clerk, typed up, sent back out to us, okay? That didn't happen. So the contract that was put on our desk last Monday, it was a combination of contract number 1, contract number 2, meeting over here on May 2nd. I'm just going to put it together and I'm going to hand it to you, and it was never signed.
It was a contract I had never seen before.
Correct. So he made the contract up and gave it to us the night of the meeting. Okay? So our question is, that contract, again, was a tabulation of his first contract, which was amended by vote to make changes.
You've got 7 different contracts over that period of time where the contract kept coming back. You would change something, would leave, then it would come back. And so it basically needs to be mapped out. And that's why at the meeting I kept asking for time, because it is complicated because of all the different contracts with different terms. Nobody wanted to give me that time. This last week, I've been really, really busy. So, quite frankly, I never even thought about going back and looking at all of that again. But that's what has to be done, because there's a number of questions that were raised in that contract there in front of you. But again, when I saw that it was on the agenda, I started pulling all the contracts from the past and looking at all the different terms, and it's very confusing. And so, but then the one that was placed in front of you, it was placed in front of me at the same time, and it did not comport with any of the other agreements I had seen. Now, I didn't want to, I wasn't looking to offer explosive testimony or any of those things. I was just trying to be of assistance. And without having the time to look at that, I know you may find someone who can go out in the hall and answer all of those questions. I've been practicing for 45 years in government law, and I'm sorry that I'm not as nimble as she is with regard to giving you legal answers. But by the same token, it is complicated because you all changed his contract over and over and over again. And you have to go back and look at what was changed and what remains the same and what was changed and what remains the same. I'm not saying that we can't do that for you. It's just that I frankly have been too busy in the last week to do that.
Here's how I see it. You are interim city manager at this point. So I was under the assumption then that Skip would have somebody else from the firm or himself that was going to be able to step in and do this stuff. And I wanted to make it not to attack you, Marcia, because I think you've done an excellent job being thrown in, but I wanted to clarify because we're being attacked on why didn't we do a contract? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? And I want to make sure people understand that was Mr. Peters' responsibility to get us the contract, and not the night that he turns in his voluntary resignation, I should say, and I think that made us all look bad. And now we're taking the blunt of it. So I don't know how long it's going to take you. I would love a commitment. I think all of us commissioners up here would love a commitment on, Mr. Fowler, when can your firm, get an answer on this and start getting it resolved? So I'm going to leave that in the attorney's hands to let us know when he'll have a chance to review that.
We'll try and move as fast as possible to take a look at it, to gather the information and read it, and then to come up with an answer. And I'd like to be able to tell you, you can have it by next Monday. Now, I won't be here Monday. I'm having a grandson, so I have to go to Dallas, so I won't be around. But I will be able to hopefully put the information together and give it either to my replacement, Tom Feeney, or tell Marcia so that she can then pass it on to you.
And I understand we've got a major storm out there, so I do understand we've got a couple days missing this week, and I'm okay if you even say the next Monday. All I'm asking is that it is all 7 contracts, and the meetings that went with those contracts, because it's not just the May 2nd meeting that needs revised, it's the meetings that went with to revise those contracts. I mean, there's a lot more than just one meeting to be watched.
Oh.
I just want a commitment that it's going to be done, okay? And then Commissioner McCool also brought up they're reviewing or the stopping the negotiations of the firefighters. Stacy's been heavily involved in that. She's been doing it actively. I know our interim city manager was actively involved in the last negotiations, and so she's well aware. I think this is something between the firefighters union and us. What do they feel? And I mean, obviously, I don't want any more bad blood either. Like I said, we have a lot of awesome things happening in Deltona right now, and our job up here is to keep things smooth and moving forward, not to add to it. So I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Ms. Stacy and the firefighters union to get up to date, but I think we would all like an update on that as well. I believe we did ask for a shade meeting prior to last week, so I don't know if before we make that decision, if we go ahead and after the storm schedule a shade meeting so we can be updated on what's going on.
I have had some discussions with the union lawyer, and I would prefer to talk to all of you individually, and then, and then from there. I just can't move as fast as you all want to move. So, I mean, I think there are some significant issues, and also how you get past the election and deal with a pretty toxic situation. So I have some options that I can discuss with all of you and, and see if there's a path forward.
My question is, have you had a conversation with the attorney that the city hired?
No. I just had a conversation today with the union lawyer, but I would be happy to talk to that lawyer also.
Well, I would think that you would want to talk to them because that's the person that we spent money on to negotiate the contract with our deputy city manager.
Commissioner, I understand that, but when you're trying to do some negotiating and trying to bring 2 sides together, you have to talk to both sides.
Absolutely.
So.
Commissioner Bradford, are you good? Yes, ma'am. Okay, Commissioner McCool, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I just going to finish with this, that I do want that done within a week. I mean, I feel capable that the attorney has enough staff, right, to do this, but the residents deserve kind of closure on that, because there's things being asked of me that I can't answer, and regarding verbiage in the contracts, right? So I just want us to be able to answer all of those questions And there again, I would like to reiterate, and as much as Commissioner King said, to sit down with the city attorney for the firefighter negotiations. And it would just behoove us all, because you said it perfectly and as succinctly as I have heard it said, that it's toxic, and it's just not a good look for our city. And the last thing that I want to say is that we need to be taking care of one another, and this is stormy in more ways than one, but we just need to put a lot of this to bed. So if we could please move along. I understand that it's difficult, and I just wanted to say that I just talked to Mr. Denny because he was aware of the situation. It's the elephant in the room, because I have confidence in him. He has municipal experience. He has negotiation experience. He has been tenured here as a city manager before. He knows what he's doing. So if anybody else has a better idea, I am absolutely one of the most open-minded people, I think, in absolutely welcoming what would be best for our city right now. But I believe that he has a good record on every side of the aisle here. And I would like the answer I would like for us to have, if it's legal's recommendation to have a shade meeting regarding the contract, not Mr. Peters, but the firefighter contract, and again, I can't reiterate that Stacy has provided a lot of valuable information, and it's my intent to speak openly with firefighters. I know that on October 11th or 13th, I don't remember which day, but it's an open meeting from what I understand also. So if we could get those answers, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Commissioner McCool, just to clarify, what you wanted as soon as possible regarding the contract, was that Mr. Peters, and then you wanted the shade meeting regarding the fire department?
Yes, ma'am. And I think, yes, ma'am. And I think, Madam Mayor, that Marcia brought that up, that she wanted to inform us, right? But as far as Mr. Peters, I just don't think that dragging this on is healthy for the city. I think that it should be a priority. I know that we're having a storm right now, but I have complete belief that Fowler or Feeney has plenty of staff to get this, to look at this, and to render a legal opinion, a legally binding opinion, so that we can move forward this. It's not fair to our residents. It's not fair to this commission to have to keep dealing with this because we get it from our residents, and it's certainly not fair to Mr. Peters, who should be able to finish up his tenure here with some dignity. So if we can put it to bed as soon as possible.
Skip and I met with Mr. Peters last week, Thursday or Friday, I think it was, and he had told us that we should expect that he had hired a lawyer and that we should expect communication. And with regards to what his issues were, we have not received it.
Right, and we're totally powerless and out of control with that. I understand that. That's not our side of the street. I'm talking about keeping our side of the street clean and doing what we need to do to inform this commission of what this verbiage is, to render that legal opinion for us, and that needs to be done post haste.
Can I ask a quick question?
Commissioner King's on the board.
I just want to know what meeting, real quick, she was referring to as the 11th or 13th. Which meeting?
From what I understand, there was another meeting. Is that not correct?
It's a negotiation session that's been set.
And they're all open to the public. Am I correct on that?
Yes, you are correct. And they are recorded.
Yes.
So you're saying that the next negotiation meeting's October 11th or 13th?
Madam Deputy City Manager, could you please clear that up?
No, I just want to know because I wanted to go as well. Next meeting scheduled for October 11th? What time?
Okay.
It's a negotiation session with you.
And location? Thank you. 9 a.m., October 11th at the center. Okay. All right, Commissioner King, I'm sorry, I tried to get to you a couple times.
I'll make it quick. Skip, congratulations on being a grandfather. First time or more?
No, first son.
Multiple. My
I
question.
have two granddaughters.
My question is, if you're going to be gone, who will be sitting in that seat?
My partner in crime, Tom Feeney.
Okay, just because.
Or perhaps Marcia, depending on who sits in
Marcia's
that
got
seat.
enough on her plate already. I don't want to see her bouncing between two chairs. She needs to stay over there in the city manager chair until we get this squared away.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have wrapped up this item. Everyone has their direction. We will now take 15 minutes so that Liz can go ahead. Can you set the timer, please, for 15? That you can go ahead and change everything out. So do a quick break.
Oh, I'm going to give this to...